Hello, everyone. It's me, Allison Rosen. Sight for sore eyes, breath of fresh air. It's Monday morning, unless you're not listening to this Monday morning, in which case it's some other time of the day or week. But anyway, what you're about to hear is a new episode of my new podcast, Upworthy Weekly. I'm very excited for you to hear it. Upworthy Weekly, you've probably heard me talk about it because I just won't shut up about it. It's my new lighthearted news podcast, and I'm very excited about it. You could even say it's my baby. Could you say that? Now I'm thinking about whether I would want someone to say that. I mean, I think this show is my baby, but this show is a tween now. So that one's my younger show. Younger, cuter. I don't know. Look, there's enough love in my heart, and yours too, for all of them. But anyway, it's new. It's fresh. On today's episode, the one you're about to hear, I did some Snoop-style rapping. Now, we recorded it this morning. It is now very late when I'm recording this, much later than I normally sit in my studio recording. It's a long story why. But I don't know how much of the rapping made it into the final cut, and I don't know how much I want to have made into the final cut. So we can all discover that together. But anyway, I do the show with Todd Perry. If you listen to my show, Allison Rosen is Your Best Friend, regularly, then you're familiar with him because I've mentioned him quite a bit, and then also he's been a guest. He frequently drops bombshells on me, personal tidbits that I feel like that should have come up much earlier. For example, he has 2 pet tortoises. Isn't that something you tell someone right away? He chose to hide that information because he didn't want me to think he was quote unquote creepy reptile guy, which I get, except that I think tortoises are charming. And then on today's episode, another huge bombshell. The kind of thing where I was like, and I think I literally said it, how am I only finding out about this now? So I'm beginning to suspect he's purposefully rationing these. Like he's planned it out in the same way that on Twitter I keep seeing, like, for free, download Twitter for Business social media plan. Do you guys see this as well? I don't know what it is. I'm not going to download it because I don't want to. But anyway, I think if you're a business, you can plan your social media campaign in advance or something. I think Todd has planned his surprise Allison campaign in advance with factoids that he's just going to drop one by one. And that's fine. I prefer to just get my factoids out of the way and then bring them up incessantly. So, listen, I've talked your ear off too much. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you become a loyal and ardent subscriber. I hope you'll let us know what you think of the show on the episode we mentioned where you can direct said correspondence. And back with a brand new episode of Allison Rosen is Your New Best Friend on Thursday. That'll be another Tony's Picks. I feel like I'm offering I feel like I'm like, have you dined with us before? Here's our specials. But it will be another Tony's Picks, a fresh Tony's Picks, and then brand new episode of Alice Rosen is Your New Best Friend Monday. And then, you know how it works. Okay. Felt a little catch in my throat. I think I'm getting emotional talking to you. You guys, I love you. Here is Upworthy Weekly.
Upworthy Weekly, delivering the best of humanity every Saturday. Here's your hosts, Allison Rosen and Todd Perry.
Hello, everybody. My name is Todd Perry, a staff writer at Upworthy, and with me is the wonderful Allison Rosen. Allison is the host of the super popular podcast, Allison Rosen is Your New Best Friend, and Childish with comedian Greg Fitzsimmons. On the show today, we're going to review some of Upworthy's most popular and engaging stories from April 18th to the 22nd. Before we get into that, as you know, Allison we're always, as a new podcast, we're always looking for new, fun, cool ways to promote the show and let people know that Upworthy Weekly is out there. It's the greatest podcast on earth, and everybody should be listening.
I mean, last week I suggested that if they're going to revamp Mount Rushmore and they're going to put non-presidents on there, they include you and me. And somehow not everyone went for that. And I feel like that was some outside the box genius thinking. So if I'm going to put myself on the line and make myself vulnerable with my ahead of the times, disrupting I mean, I'm a regular Elizabeth Holmes without the fraud. I think you know who I'm talking about. But if you guys are going to just nix my idea, I'm done suggesting things. So I'm glad you've brought some ideas to the plate today, Todd.
Well, I mean, I do love the idea of us being carved in granite in a remote part of Wyoming, and everybody that drives by goes, "Who's that?" And then you go, "Oh, they have a podcast. Check it out." You're
right. I guess there would have to be there'd have to be an asterisk under us, and then there would have to be a lot of signage. It's not the most succinct idea.
No, but again, there's no bad ideas on the Upworthy marketing tip. So
just bad people.
That's right. Just us. So what happens is this morning, my buddy sent me a TikTok video of a rapper, cultural icon, and Long Beach hero, Snoop Dogg. And, I always like it, the fact I get tons of TikTok videos from my buddies that are all in their mid to late 40s. Huge with the old guy set. But so he sends me this, and it's Snoop Dogg talking about how much he charges to get on a track.
It's what it costs to get on a song. If I didn't want to go that route, which obviously we want.
$250,000.
$250?
Yeah.
So if somebody gives you $250,000, that means that you'll
you
jump
get about
on
16 bars.
16 bars?
Mm-hmm. And when it's time to do the video, I need to get another $250 about it.
All right. Big money.
And
Is
you only got an hour, so get to filming.
So I heard that, and then I thought, ding. What if, I nicely, hat in hand, walked into the office of Joseph R. Upworthy, who is the founder and CEO of Upworthy. He's kind of a Willy Wonka-esque kind of guy, but with a little bit of a temper. But so I walk in, and at the end of his very, very long desk, I sit down and I go, Joe, I think I got a great idea for how we're going to take this show to the top, top of the iTunes charts. We're going to get Snoop Dogg to come on the show. And you know what? All you got to do is pay him. And, it's roughly, he's affordable. He's going to come on do an hour for $250,000, and then also spit a sweet 16, which, Alice and I can do with him. And then, we could do a whole episode called Snoopworthy.
Snoopworthy, yes.
Yeah, and the show would have tons of cred. All we got to do is just give him a couple bucks, and maybe I was thinking possibly I could get a Long Beach discount as somebody who lives in Long Beach and he's from Long Beach. We have the Cliff May Ranchos meeting up with the East Side. I think it would be a hit. I think the kids would love it. Yeah.
And then we could just throw it up on the YouTube channel for just another $250,000, but with your Long Beach discount, $249,000.
That's right. One K off just because he didn't have to drive that far.
Right. I think it's brilliant.
And I was just we just be us hanging out. I think that I could be the hype man, and then you could sing the hook or something, something about how Snoop Dogg's so great.
Right.
Just be rap music, y'all. Beats and rhythmic talking. Snoop Dogg. And then he'd come in and do something oh dog, like that, Snoop Dogg Upworthy.
Maybe good news, y'all. Good nizzle in the hizzle. That's what he sounds like, right?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Smoking blunts, best of humanity. Izzle, schnizzle, nizzle, dizzle. Crib, yo. That's what he sounds like, right?
Pretty much. And, we'd just be And then I come in and just be like, Snoop Dogg and the Deuce Deuce. And, I think... I think we get it all done live, and he's a good freestyler. Cut it up. It'll work in many different ways because first of all, you've got it. The podcast. People want to hear the podcast. It obviously becomes a great radio hit. Given you and I kind of backing him up as part of the Worthy Mafia or whatever we call ourselves.
And I think our talents are apparent from that little snippet they got.
Mm-hmm.
Prodigious talents.
Yeah, and then at the end, you could just start shouting out random city names in the greater Los Angeles area.
My favorite part of the clip you played earlier, not the one of us being really talented, but the one earlier is the guy going, "Is that standard?" Like, standard for whom?
Right.
For just an average person, probably not.
Right.
For Snoop, maybe.
I like that Snoop has zero interest in who he's working with at all. It's not like a great artist or a bad artist. He's just like, that's the rate, and you get 16 bars. I come
like
in.
It. It's like it's that service Cameo?
Yeah.
I'm on Cameo, but Snoop should put himself on Cameo. He'd be by far the most expensive person on there.
Oh, I imagine. But yeah, so I just think this is a great way to hit people, and what would they call it? Flooding the zone when it comes to marketing.
I've not heard that term, but it makes sense.
Well, so Joseph R. Upworthy, you've heard a little bit of what we plan to do, and now the ball's in your court, all right? You want Snoopworthy or you don't want Snoopworthy, it's in your court. So, Allison, what Upworthy stories are we talking about this week?
Oh my gosh, so many good ones. Okay, this first one, I think anyone who's ever taken an Uber or Lyft will love this story. There's a guy, his name is Cameron, and he has a sheet that is taped, he's a driver, to the back of his driver's seat with a menu of different kinds of rides you can opt for when you step into his Uber. And it says, to ensure the best ride possible for you, I have prepared a menu of the various types of rides I offer. Just choose one, or don't. That's an option too. And sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride. And then it lists 10 ride options he offers. So these are different types of ride experiences you can have in his Uber. 1, the awkward ride. You just ignore this menu completely, then we will sit in silence for the remainder of the ride. 2, the funny ride. I tell you jokes or entertaining stories from my life. I have to butt in and say those are two very different things. There should be like a 2B for the stories. Okay,
well,
3.
He could be like one of those stand-ups that they actually don't tell jokes; they just tell stories.
Oh, yeah, observation. Right, this is true.
Yeah.
3, the silent ride. Well, that just seems like the awkward ride with a different name. But anyway. 4, the creepy ride. I don't say anything, but I keep staring at you in the rearview mirror. 5, the karaoke ride. We rock out to hits from the 80s, early 2000s, or literally whatever you want. 6, the bubbles ride. We blow bubbles the whole time. 7, the small talk ride. We talk about how crazy the weather's been lately, and I ask if you caught the game last night. 8, the therapy ride. You vent to me about your problems, and I listen. Can I tell you that I have taken an Uber? However, it was the therapy ride, but the other way around, where the driver was just pouring out her problems to me, and I was thinking, this is not what I wanted. 9, the drunk ride. You throw up in my car. And 10, the cliche ride. You ask me how long I've been driving for Lyft. Allow me to go back in time and Control F. I wish this joke would work. I'm trying to do the find replace every time I said Uber and replace it with Lyft, because apparently this whole thing was Lyft, not Uber. But you get what I was trying to say.
Yeah. Well, they are different services, and I'll get into how I know the difference.
I'm a Lyft gal myself. So really, this is more Lyft than Uber when you think about it. And then Annie Renault, who wrote this, she offered some ideas of her own, like the pep talk ride, where the driver gives you encouragement, or the tour guide ride, so interesting details about where you're going, the life story ride. you each share your life story for half the ride, the deep questions ride, the high school debate ride, the pretend persona ride. That just sounds like an improv game, which sounds awful. So I love this idea. I love codifying it so that if you want, and this shows that I'm kind of an introvert, if you just want a silent ride, you don't have to feel rude trying to like put on your earbuds or pretend you're on a phone call or something. You could just ask for it. However, I think that I would opt for the joke ride so I could hear jokes, and then I would wish I had opted for the silent ride.
Yeah, so what ride are you going for here?
I'm going to go for, okay, in my heart of hearts, I want the silent ride. But, okay, allow me to tell a quick story. I think I've talked before about when my sister and I were in France and I insisted on speaking French, even though I can barely speak it and I can understand it even less. So we couldn't get around, and everyone there speaks English. But the indignity of speaking English when I was in their country, I wouldn't go for it. So we couldn't find anything. This is back before you could locate everything on it. We didn't have smartphones. This was in the Middle Ages. Anyway, but while we were there, we took a tour bus where you, like a tour bus around town, and you wear headphones, and there's a tour in like 11 different languages, and you just, find your language and then you listen to it. However, because potentially this is like undiagnosed ADHD, I don't know, I spent the whole time just switching channels, listening to it in different languages. Again, not understanding it. So I like to explore. One time I was in a hotel that had a sleep number bed. I don't think I slept a wink because I was like, I got to find my number. And I had to just, if there's a menu, I got to explore the options. So what I'm saying is, I know I want the silent ride, but knowing that there's an option where the guy tells me jokes, the funny ride, I would ask for that, and then I would be trapped listening to these terrible jokes. No offense, maybe they're funny.
The problem is, if he was actually funny, he probably wouldn't be driving a Lyft,
Maybe.
Like, if this was A-grade,
yes.
I'm thinking it's going to be more like the kind of quality humor you get at, like, comedy traffic school.
Yes, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's going to be painful. I already regret that I chose this, even hypothetically. What would you choose?
I'd probably go for the small talk and then try to quickly elevate it into big talk,
Oh, my God. Why are you doing that? Just as a challenge?
Yeah, just as a challenge. I try to, up the game a little bit. As somebody who talks professionally, I feel like I can maybe move him into new corners, into deep and scintillating conversation from something that starts with like, hot day today, But
as somebody that talks professionally, I feel like that's like, I'm a doctor. I'm not a doctor, but I feel like it's like saying I'm a doctor, and in my spare time, I like to diagnose moles at parties or something. It's like, don't you get enough talking with me? What am I not providing you, Todd? That you have to talk to Lyft drivers.
Because I want to talk about the Dodger game last night, and that's just not happening here, okay?
Okay.
I want to talk about why Kershaw was pulled, okay? He was not pulled.
Okay.
He had a perfect game in the 7th. But, okay. But if sometimes I'm the silent guy, just depending on my level of intoxication when I get into the Lyft.
There is the drunk ride, but that one's, the way Cameron, the driver, put it, that involves you throw up in my car. I'm surprised he doesn't tack on an extra charge for that. There should be one. They
do charge extra. I have a confession to make, which I feel I should have screamed like Dave Grohl. I got a confession to make.
Yeah. What is it?
And then go into an hour-long conversation about how Pat Benatar influenced Nirvana. Anyway, sorry. Sorry, can't rip on Dave Grohl these days.
No, it feels wrong right now.
Yeah. So a couple years back, I drove a Lyft.
What?
I know. Just let it settle.
There's no shame in that.
No, not shame. What happened was I had put down a deposit for season tickets to the Las Vegas Raiders as they were building the stadium in Las Vegas. And the thing is that in order to get season tickets, you have to first put down a seat license fee, which is not cheap, which is pretty damn expensive. And, because
Is it like Snoop money?
It's not quite Snoop money depending on where you sit. But it would be the equivalent of me going, you know what? Our family could go on like 3-4 trips to Hawaii, or I could have, my seat licenses for the Raiders. So I made a deal, actually, where I'll drive for it. I'll just go out and I'll hustle. And so that guilt-free, it's not coming out of our bank account. The kid's like not going to a year of college because daddy had to have his Raiders seats. So I went out and I hustled and I made all the money to pay for the thing, just driving Lyft at night. And honestly, I loved it. It was a blast,
How long did you drive for?
I think I'd go out enough. It was like I needed to make $400 every month. So I just went out like, I don't know, 5 nights a month or whatever for like 3 hours. And I just go down, pick up drunk people in Belmont Shores or downtown Long Beach. Or sometimes you'd wind up in the butt end of the San Fernando Valley because you picked somebody up or whatever. But yeah, it was actually really fun. And for just kicking around driving, the money wasn't terrible. And I hit my goal. And I have we could do 5 shows on Todd's favorite Lyft driving stories. But the cool thing was I did it, and boom. And so then whenever I sit, and I'm sitting in my luxurious seat in section 411, I go, you earned that, Todd. You earned that. And you set a goal, and you achieved it. But
good for you.
Yes. And I was once assaulted while driving the Uber. I picked up a couple at I picked up a straight couple at a gay bar in Long Beach, and the woman was severely intoxicated, like can hardly stand, and her husband, who I found quizzical because he had a Freddie Mercury mustache, and where you go, gay or cop. Right?
Feel the options.
So, I got to know who's getting in the back seat. Is this a cop? Is this her friend? What's happening? But I realized there were a couple that was together, and it was a quick ride, and she was really drunk, and the husband, Freddie Mercury, was sitting in the back seat, and I jokingly go, fun night? And he's doing that, oh, God, just get her home kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And as we get towards the house, she starts saying, I hate you.
To you or to him?
To me.
Wow.
And I'm like, oh, no. And then she goes, but I love you. And I'm like, oh, no, this is becoming, a scene from Bullets Over Broadway. And so I'm like, oh, God. And as we get closer, she puts her hands on my neck. And then she grabs me by the neck from behind and starts pulling my shirt. And with her big, crazy nails, she scratched my neck. And
what's her cop Freddie Mercury husband doing at this time?
Well, clearly he was not a cop. I feel like a cop would do something, But so he does nothing, and then I actually help him remove her from the car. And when we get to the apartment where they lived, and they get ready to walk in, she turns to him and says, "We should include him tonight."
Oh boy.
And that's when I realized that it was a straight couple going to a gay bar that night. And she probably got really drunk because she was nervous because they're going to go bring somebody home.
Yeah, and then they struck out and thought, this is our last-ditch effort.
Right. I'm the 2 a.m. gal at the bar right there, the Lyft driver.
How'd you extricate yourself, or didn't you?
Woo! On next week's show. When Snoop comes on, I'll tell him. No, but I dropped them off, and they got out, and then I was like, I bet I'm going to look in the app tomorrow morning and have a big fat tip because you assault the guy. I think that's worth $15,
Yeah.
Nothing. Bupkis. I got minimum charge on that ride. Bupkis. And if I ever saw that couple, if I ever saw Freddie and Morticia, or whoever the hell she was, again, it'd be over.
Oh my God, I just realized. You are the perfect person for me to talk to about something that came up on my show recently that it was the second. Tony, my producer, brought it up. I had forgotten that I ever aired this on the show. Okay. You know how Lyft drivers rate the passengers? Did you always rate the passengers? Do you have to rate them?
Yeah. But you didn't have much time. It would give you towards the end. At the beginning, you had time to choose, but if not, it'd be like, you have 60 seconds, rate them. So I just 5 to everybody. I didn't bother with it.
Okay. Right. So I try to be a really conscientious passenger. So I don't know what compelled. When I found out that passengers can look at their scores, I went to go look, thinking like, of course I'm going to have a 5. I'm 5 material because I try to be a really good passenger. And I look and it's 4.8. Now, when I tell the story, people are like, but that's really good. And I'm like, yes. However, that means that someone decided I was less than 5. What could I possibly have done to be less than 5? So I began to obsess about it. And here's the part that I had forgotten till Tony reminded me. I ended up calling Lyft to ask, I know you can't give me much information, but is there any way you could just indicate, was this like one person gave me a real bad score or like a few people gave me, I just wanted just anything they could tell me. And they just kept repeating, we are not at liberty to give you that information. We're not at liberty. And I was pushing because a couple times I had guests on my show who didn't have cars. So I got them lifts. Like, maybe those people got, of course it couldn't have been yours truly. So maybe those people had less than perfect scores. Do you happen to have the dates? And they just wouldn't tell me anything. So what were reasons? So you only ever gave people 5s, though, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, I feel like if I was like a professional Lyft guy that did it every day, then maybe I'd be anal about that and care about the company. But it was more just like, okay, I want to go make $100 tonight,
Yeah.
So I didn't.
What could I possibly have done to bring this upon me? It feels very unfair.
Yeah.
I'm getting caught up again.
I'm thinking maybe it was like a male Lyft driver, and they're like, oh, girl in the back. Maybe she'll be nice. And maybe if you were just like having a silent ride, he'd be like, oh,
right.
That B, I'm downvoting, You never know with people. And
that seems possible. Seems unfair.
You could have left some crumbs in the back seat. Like, I would find weird.
I don't even eat in. I won't even eat in a. I say I won't even as if it's like you should be able to. No, I remember reading like it's considered totally rude to ever eat in a car. So I don't eat in a Lyft. But yes, you know what it is? I think there was one time we were going to an airport and we were getting all the kids in the car. And I think that except we tipped him really well. But I do think that we were probably on, oh, wait a minute. Also in San Francisco, there was like a group of us. We could have been on that guy's last nerve because I was not drunk, but I did have a couple friends. I don't know. I can think of a couple instances now that I think about it where maybe it was a little irritating. I was perfect, but maybe the other people in the party were irritating.
Sure. You're never grading at all. It's never. No.
I can't.
No. I had there's just like a lot of mysteries sometimes when people got out of the car. I'd be like, what was their deal? Like one time I picked up a woman, I think in Lakewood, California. Seems right. And I pick her up, and she had to go to a Walgreens. So I drove her to the Walgreens, and she went in there to get like a prescription. And then she comes back, and I think from looking at the thing that I'm taking her to Walgreens, I'm taking her back home, and it's a quick little ride, whatever. So I'm driving her back, and then she asked me to go a different direction, not towards her house. That's kind of weird, but she goes, whatever. And she goes, oh, no, you're dropping me off at my rental car. And I was like, so why did you take an Uber or Lyft? And then she goes, then she took things another step further and goes, my husband doesn't know about it.
About what?
I don't know about the rental car. So she was hiding a rental car from her husband and going to go pick up medication and then going somewhere, obviously, in the rental car and then gonna need a ride back. I don't know. Huh. But I wanted her to tell me, like, you cheating? You creeping right now? What's going on?
Right. What medication is it?
Yeah. What's going on? What party's happening tonight?
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a whole bunch of crazy ones. I had the most loveliest girl ever. I just honestly, she was a sweetheart. And I had to drive her like the valley. And like halfway in the conversation, she's like, oh, man, I got to go to prison for 6 months. And I was like, what? She was
Whoa.
like, I had too many Mai Tais, and I was riding my motorcycle, and I accidentally hit a cop car. And I was like, oh, sucks. And I wanted to, like, 8 months later be like, you out? How'd it go, you know? But,
Right.
how was Chowchilla, you know? But
Is that the name of a prison?
yeah, didn't you ever watch that show, those Scared
Oz?
Straight shows?
No. I didn't watch Oz or the Scared Straight Show. I did watch Locked Up Abroad. And is it called Locked Up? Locked Up and Locked Up Abroad, where they would have reenactments of usually drug smuggling.
Yeah.
Anyway, unfamiliar with Chowchilla, but it sounds like a great place.
Upworthy Weekly.
The Sunscreen song is 25. Here's why the advice from the Gen X anthem is still important. And I actually wrote this week, and it was because I was writing some other piece, and the idea of wearing sunscreen came up, and then I was immediately transported to the late 90s. And the Baz Luhrmann song, known as the Sunscreen song. Obviously, you're familiar with this, Allison?
Yes. I remember, this is how old I am. I remember when this graduation speech was popular and everyone attributed it to Kurt Vonnegut. And then it came out that no, it wasn't him. So I remember it before it was even set to music.
Oh, wow. So you knew
I'm
the band.
116.
You knew the band before the band knew they were a band.
That's right.
You know. So, yeah, there was a columnist, and her name was Mary Schmitz for the Chicago Tribune, and she wrote like a fantasy to the graduating class speech in 1997. And I think everybody who's reached a certain age gets to the point where they think they can tell the youngins how to live their life, you know? Like, I get a little preachy when I'm talking to, like, my nieces and nephews about, hey, you know, if you like the girl, here's what you do, you know? Like, thinking I know, put that money away right now, you know, whatever, you know, no. Anyway, so everybody kind of has that in them, and that was the point of her column. So she wrote this thing where she said, hey, the most important thing is to wear sunscreen, and then the rest of it was kind of anecdotal truths that she's picked up. And I'm going to play just a clip of it to jog people's memory, because if I play more than a clip, then we'll get into the place where Spotify like takes the show down because we're playing copyrighted music.
Ladies and
Isn't
gentlemen.
this fair? I mean, I know that'll happen.
Oh.
I know that'll happen, but isn't this fair use because we're talking about it?
Is it? Okay.
I mean, yes, but let's not push it. But yes, I believe if it push came to shove, we could defend what we're doing, but let's not go up against the computers and the man.
Yeah, I just, maybe we can ask Joseph R. Upworthy to get some kind of legal opinion from Upworthy Legal.
Oh, he's a lawyer as well. I love it.
Well, no, he has a team of high-priced lawyers. Is the
Of
thing.
course. Yeah.
So here's just a clip. And it'll make you weep if you're of a certain age, I think. Now that you're old enough to be the kind of person that would write something like this.
Ladies and
it's
gentlemen
weird.
of the class of 99, wear sunscreen. If I could offer you only one tip for the future, sunscreen would be it. The long-term benefits of
Cue the music.
sunscreen have been proved by scientists, whereas the rest of my advice has no basis more reliable than my own meandering experience. I will dispense this advice now.
Into like a Sugar Ray sounding guitar and beat right here. Every morning.
Enjoy the power and beauty of your youth. Oh, never mind. You will not understand the power and beauty of your youth until they've faded. But trust me.
That's not true for us because the power and beauty of our youth has yet to fade, by the way. It's still shining bright.
That's right.
In 20 years, you'll look back at photos of yourself and recall in a way you can't grasp now how much possibility lay before you and how fabulous you really looked.
Yeah, that's true.
I could throw myself off a bridge. You never think...
I really do look back, and I like in a way I couldn't understand, and I understand now in this sort of sad, like, oh, that chapter is closed. This sense of like, oh, that was the prime of my life, at least in a physical sense. and I didn't realize it when it was happening.
Yeah, even if you heard this song,
yeah,
and they told you, and then
yeah, everyone tells you, but you can't hear it. Your ears aren't fully formed yet, and your brain also isn't.
If everybody could just remove that part of the brain that goes, "Not going to happen to me,"
yeah,
at that age, how great would life be? You know?
Are not as fat as you imagine.
Yes, I am. Actually,
Don't worry about the future. Or worry, but know that worrying is as effective as trying to solve an algebra equation by chewing bubblegum.
I think that seemed kind of deep at the time, and now it just sounds pretty facile.
I think it'd be a hard sell to you saying not to worry about things.
Yeah.
So basically, the song goes on, and it's great. There's a lot of stuff in there. There's like a lot of advice in there, like don't be reckless with other people's hearts. It's actually a really beautiful thing. And again, it goes on and on. You can listen to it wherever you like, or not. In hindsight, I thought the song was kind of powerful, and just how unlikely that was like a huge hit song that you saw on MTV all the time, and you saw, you heard it on K-Rock out here in Los Angeles, and it was something that was around for a while, and then I feel like everybody forgot about it. It's not like something from the 90s that you're going to hear other stuff from 1999. It's kind of like the swing thing we talked about a couple shows ago, where that was like massive, and then everybody forgot it happened. Like we all just wiped our hands of it.
Right. Wasn't it in Romeo and Juliet?
They were remixing a song from Romeo and Juliet, and then said, "Hey, this Vonnegut piece will go well on it." But I looked at it, and looked some of the claims at the advice to see if it was actually worth taking. And the one thing they say, one of the famous lines is, do one thing every day that scares you. And research shows that the greatest opportunity for personal growth is to step outside one's comfort zone. And also exposure theory, that when we expose ourselves to our fears, we have the greatest chance of overcoming them. And there's another bit about don't waste time on jealousy. And I found some professors that make a point that we live in like the period of the most jealousy ever, because every day we're on that
media.
Yeah, we're on that IG seeing perfect thighs and perfect kitchens and perfect children. Then also they say, remember compliments you receive, forget the insults.
That's smart.
We've talked many times on this show about how there could be 15 positive reviews, and by the way, leave one on iTunes. But there's that one that you never forget.
Yeah.
So I went through it, and you guys can read the article if you like, but there's a whole bunch of stuff about how the things that the gal who wrote it said, which she posited as just anecdotal, like this is just what I've learned from life. When you look back, everything she said is completely backed up by psychologists. So, maybe she was in therapy and just wanted to write off the expense by writing a column on it.
That would be weirdly attributed to someone else for a long time.
Yeah, that's gotta suck. But I guess woman...
It's weird. Because nowadays, if that happened, it would take less than an hour and a half to find out who really wrote it. But back then, it was like weeks, which I don't understand.
And because it was like 1997, 1998, and the internet was slow, first of all. There wasn't a lot on there. And
right.
Vonnegut.
Bagong, bagong, bagong. That was the sound.
And then I'd have to you'd have to go into a chat room to find this out, and I'd have to pretend like I was a woman. And then finally someone would say, "Hey, go, chat with this person. They know Kurt Vonnegut personally," and then
Upworthy Weekly.
Yeah, you'd go into a chat. Sorry.
I'm just cutting you off.
Weekly.
Sorry, no, Allison.
Upworthy
I was going to say you'd
Stop
go into a chat room.
Stop talking.
I was going to say ASL. Remember that?
ASL?
Age, sex, location.
Oh, yeah.
It's a chat room thing for our young listeners.
Upworthy Weekly.
So a guy named Doug Weaver went viral on TikTok for a video where he discussed a husbands in training course that his mom gave him and his two brothers when he was growing up. This was like a legit comprehensive course that she gave, and I'm repeating myself, but it bears repeating. A college-style course in all the things that could come into play when you're going to become a husband. She started when they were young, and it involved like etiquette, around the dinner table, how to listen to someone's feelings.
So let's listen real quick to Mr. Weaver explain the Husbands in Training course.
So when I was a kid, my mom did this thing for me and my two older brothers called Husbands in Training. That's what she called it. It was a full, multiple-year curriculum on how to be a better husband. It covered everything from eating etiquette to chivalry to, the ethics of the porn industry, just anything you can think of. Some of it was too much. I remember one thing in particular. It was called the porn quiz. I think I still have it on one of my old laptops. That was a quiz about the porn industry, and it was too much. But there was a lot of really good stuff in that curriculum. There were things like what to do if your spouse says something and the information that they give is wrong. How to handle it if they say something wrong in public versus in private, when it is appropriate to correct them and when it isn't. We talked about consent. We talked about just the basics of respecting and honoring women and listening to women and all of the things that really just make you a decent human being.
So, Allison Rosen, you are the mother of 2 young boys.
I am.
I am the father of 1 young boy. And what would you teach them about being husbands? What would be your great advice?
I think I would want to teach them how to be supportive without invalidating your spouse's feelings. Because I think that that's a skill, and I think it doesn't necessarily come naturally unless you're raised in a house where people talk like that. Because I think that there's a tendency to want to reassure someone that everything's going to be okay. And if you aren't careful, that can make a sensitive person feel shut down.
That's toxic positivity, as they call it.
Yes.
Right. It's like if you are facing something, let me just mirror that as a husband. So you're going to have a stressful week. You're really anxious about it. And you say, Todd, I'm going to have the worst week ever. I've got a doctor's appointment. I've got all this work stuff to do. I got all this. And I go, don't worry, Toots. It's going to be great. You're fine. You're big enough to do it. And then you feel invalidated because you really honestly don't think you're going to be able to have a good week and get through it.
Right. I mean, it's there's nuances to it because from certain people, that kind of vote of confidence actually could feel okay. I feel like if you, Todd, my co-host, said it, it would be okay. But if you, Todd, my husband, said it, then I would feel like you're not hearing me. You're not hearing what I'm saying.
Right.
Because I was wanting to talk about how I feel anxious or I feel stressed, and what I'm hearing from you is you don't want to hear it right now. And I'm sure that sounds to people who are not involved in a relationship with someone who's sensitive, I'm sure that sounds exhausting to have to deal with that. But it's I think but there's a lot of people listening right now who are like, yes, I get it. So I think that's a big skill that husbands need.
I kind of learned that because my mother had the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus around the house.
It's such a cheesy title, but it's actually a pretty good book.
That's what I'm not divorced, crap. But I remember reading it when I was 21 or whatever. And then it's in there. It was don't be Mr. Fix-It. Mm-hmm. If your spouse is coming to you with problems, don't get in there and go, well, why don't you do this and give a bunch of unsolicited advice. Just sit there, listen, repeat back what they're saying, and ask them questions and make them feel heard. And then if they want your help, they'll ask for it, Yeah. Unless they're weird and passive aggressive and, whatever. But in a healthy relationship, that works. And I think that was a big lesson for me to learn, because intuitively that would not be how I would react.
Right. What would you intuitively do? Offer solutions?
Yes, I think that's what I would do.
Right.
I think that's just, I think, to generalize in a very sexist way, I think men are kind of reared to be that way, and maybe it's a effect of having a lot of testosterone. I don't know.
Well, that's John Gray, who wrote Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. That's kind of the thesis of that book, is that that's what men do, and that is how they are helpful to each other, is to try to fix problems. But the way women, and again, these are gross generalizations, and it's an older book at this point, but typically the way women show that they care for each other is to listen and to sort of be in it with each other. So it creates this butting of heads. It's another way of, like, the 5 love languages or whatever. It's like another it's that, but just another way of putting it that way. It's just like it creates this butting of heads when women expect one thing and then they feel shut down, but the dude was like just trying to help, etc. What would your husband in training course involve?
The funny thing is that was one of them. Don't try to fix it. Just listen and be supportive. Another thing, I think it's to be fair.
Mm-hmm.
To be fair in the relationship, making sure that you're giving your half, or more than half or whatever, and be fair to the other person. I mean, and not just being fair about household duties, but it's also being fair, not overly judging people about things. Like, know that the person you're with is not going to be perfect, and to go, okay, cool, you messed up, big deal. I'm not going to use it to beat you over the head. And I think lots of times there's a jockeying for power in relationships that people, caught you slipping, now I'm going to make you pay for it. And that seems unhealthy.
Don't keep score.
Yeah, and I think also as a man, and as I think lots of times women in a heterosexual relationship, that women give more and are expected to give more than they receive when it comes to doing things like child rearing, domestic stuff. And at a time when both people tend to be making the same amount of money, roughly, or having the same amount of professional responsibility, still the onus really isn't on men to still be even and all those things. So I think a big thing to have a healthy relationship and not creating resentment is just to be fair about everything. And then also realize that, make deals in your marriage. Like, everything is kind of compromised in a way. And there's nothing wrong with that, of going, look, I want to get these extra crazy expensive football tickets. I'm going to drive this. Or, hey, look, why don't you take the kid to Target here, and I'll do this on this. And, you can do that, and it's healthy, and it's fine. And I think that creates space for everybody to live their lives,
Yeah. And I think, this is like really fine-tuning and also personal, but I would probably err on the side of communicate about everything. That's what works for Daniel and me. I think there's this fantasy of like, well, some of the things are so small that they don't necessitate a whole big discussion about it, because it's stupid to like make someone really iron out something so small. So I'm just going to deal with it on my own. And I understand that thought process, but that has never really worked for Daniel and me. Whenever either of us try to just hold something in, we're both so transparent, we can tell. So for us, we have to just talk about everything.
Yeah, just put it out on the table, right?
For us, it just works better. And we always, and this is the first relationship where it's been this way, and I think it's like why we work well together. Whenever we talk about things, we always feel closer to each other after.
Right. Mm-hmm.
I never really had that before. Before, it was always like, okay, I'm glad that I tried to talk about it, but now I just feel like that didn't go well, and now I have to like put myself back together, and I feel icky.
I feel like you just survived a conflict versus just kind of made something work.
Yeah.
So, and I got a little overzealous in the prep, Allison. And I started thinking, what if I was making a wives class?
Uh-oh. I should have seen this coming. You want equal time.
Yeah, no, I just started thinking, like, you know, if I had a daughter and I was teaching her how to be a good spouse, I would say, you know, if you're going to talk to me, if you're going to talk to your spouse, make sure you're in the same room. Like, don't be like, Todd, or whatever the spouse's name is. Walk into the room and speak with me, shoulder up, brave talk, and let's talk. You don't, you know, and like, let's say you see something cute on Instagram and you're in the bedroom and I'm in the living room. You walk out and show it to me because you think it's cute. You don't say, Todd, come here, look at the Instagram. And then I got to run all the way up. I mean, your spouse has to do that.
Yeah.
You know, and also keep your monologue internal. Very important. Like, there are some thoughts that are thoughts and some thoughts that are for the public or for your spouse to hear. Like, nobody, you know, you don't want to see somebody just walking around the house going, oh, this is disgusting. This is dirty. Oh, geez, we need a new toaster. Oh, my God. Oh, geez, I have such a headache. You know how hot it is right now? Oh, God, you know, the car's out of gas. We probably need a new car because it ran out of gas. I don't, you know, don't have what I call white woman's Tourette's, which is just constant little micro complaints throughout the day about everything. Because
That is hilarious.
Your spouse probably doesn't want to hear it, is what I'm saying.
But is all of that so that you'll hear it and fill the car up with gas?
No, I think it's just
Talking out loud to herself.
This hypothetical wife talks a lot to herself all the time. And it pulls me in because I think I have to address it. And then I see it as like kind of a micro complaint against me because like maybe I should have put gas in the car, whatever. And it's unnerving for a decade, you know.
You know what my husband does? I mean, hypothetically, if I had a hypothetical husband, I mean, I would say to my kids, if I was doing a husband in training course, I would say to my kids, when you're married, if there's ever a pandemic where you're working together in the same room separately, don't all of a sudden go, or like, oh no, or, oh Jesus. And then when your wife says, what? Be silent for an extended period of time, either because you're focusing on what you're focusing on or you have headphones on, leaving her to wonder, did someone die? Did you just get fired? Like, what just happened? And then when she asks again, what happened? Go, oh, nothing. Don't do that.
It's going to give you a heart attack.
I know. It is so annoying. And I'm sure it's like he saw some insane, I feel like it's like something related to a meme or someone clapped back. And I mean, I feel like it was nothing. It's nothing that has, but my reaction is always like, and maybe I don't know what this reveals, but my reaction is always like, oh no, he missed an important meeting, or like, oh no, he got fired, or oh no, our house is going to collapse. Or it's like, I always think it's some calamity.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll do that too. And then my wife will be like, what happened? And I'll be like, oh God, they gave him a 3-year contract. It should have been a 4-year contract. What are they thinking? We need to shore up that side of the line, you know?
Upworthy Weekly.
People are sharing the, quote, one question they'd ask God if they could, and the responses are pretty deep. You know, we're just taking it light this week.
Right. This is your thing. You're like, I just want to do small talk and then make people go deep.
Mm-hmm. As the show progresses,
right.
the topics get deeper and deeper, and we kind of we hit this, you know, late second act stuck in the mud kind of thing. You know, it's real dramatic. Also, great to know that neither of our spouses listen to this show. A Reddit user by the name Geometry Thing recently asked the Reddit subforum, you can ask God any one question. What do you ask him? Now, I believe they're going him on God just because in Abrahamic religions, it's like him capitalized. Because I feel like in reality, God would be a they because like who needs genitals when you're living outside of space and time or to identify in a certain way?
Right.
Okay.
I'm
glad
with
we're
you.
We're on the same page there. Okay.
Yeah.
Upworthy Weekly at Upworthy.com. What gender is God? And the answers range from the philosophical to the heart-wrenching to the hilarious. I might have already read that.
No, you didn't.
Oh, okay. And so these are some of
the
these are some of the best ones. It was I want to know who committed all the big unsolved murders. Madeleine McCann. Do you know what that is?
She is yeah. I only know because I recently saw a picture of her. She's a little girl, and I'd completely forgotten. I believe she's a little girl, and I had completely forgotten about her. And then someone tweeted something about her recently, and it like jogged my memory. Just a sad, unsolved toddler mystery, I believe.
Okay. Jean-Benet Ramsey, Tupac and Biggie, the Black Dahlia, JFK. Like, that would be a great question. And then you're like, oh, so it was Lee Harvey Oswald. Okay. Boring. God.
That's your one question, and then you just find out it was what you already, like, oh, there was no big conspiracy? That would suck.
Yeah. Now, this next one is one that I quietly within my own heart ask, but I know that you get ridiculed if you ask it, and that's how do magnets work?
Who ridicules you?
Well, that was it was a big deal in an Insane Clown Posse song. It like went viral because the whole song was one of these like, oh, the world is full of wonders. You know, like, how do we know? It was an uplifting, very, very Upworthy song. That was kind of like almost like one of these like 80s Michael Jackson heal the world kind of things. But it was the Insane Clown Posse, and they say, how do magnets work was one of the lines. And I think they're being tongue-in-cheek. Right. So the idea is like this is a question that a not smart person would ask, and also Todd. Correct. But I think it has something to do with like the North Pole.
Yeah.
And
polarity.
Elves. Yeah.
Yes.
Water, fire, air, and dirt. Fucking magnets, how do they work?
This one was pretty deep. It was, how is it possible that you know all the things that will ever happen and I have free will? So if I kill a man, that means you already knew it would happen. At that point, why would I ask for forgiveness? You already knew what can happen since I can't change your will. And doesn't that kind of cancel out free will also? Correct?
Yes.
It's kind of like the prayer thing, right? Like, if God already knows what's going to happen, right? Alpha and the Omega and all the be-all, then how does prayer factor in? Because he already knows what he's going to do. He's also already going to know that you're going to pray, right?
Right. Like, what level of wiggle room are we working with here?
Yeah. We need, you know what? I always thought that just, you know, Gilbert Gottfried's podcast had this, and I think it would be beneficial to us, is that the third guest would be a rabbi.
Should we get one?
Yeah, David Kamarofsky, Rabbi David, if you're free now, you can join this podcast and just hang out in the background, or, you know, I'm sure Shmuley Bateach isn't doing anything these days. We'll get him to chime in and correct our big philosophical questions.
Ooh, I love it. A rabbi ombudsman.
What's an ombudsman? Isn't that...
You work in news. An ombudsman is someone who represents the will of the people, or the voice of the people. The ombudsman itself does not mean either of those things, but like he's there to represent the people's interest and to sort of hold our feet to the fire and to correct us when we're wrong. And I think newspapers used to or sometimes have an ombudsman. We need an ombudsman. I'm going to get the exact definition. Okay. Just give me a moment.
I feel like if we had a rabbi, they wouldn't represent the people, they'd represent the chosen people. So we need to cast a wider net.
Okay, it's Swedish, and noun, an official appointed to investigate individuals' complaints against maladministration, especially that of public authorities.
So I was thinking to myself,
yes,
if I had, you know, the ability to ask a question of God, what would it be? And I came up with 5 that I put in the article. And you tell me if these are worthy, And the first one was probably most important. What was in Marcellus Wallace's briefcase in Pulp Fiction?
Mm-hmm. Good one.
Yeah, because you don't know. Like John Travolta opens it up. He gets a bright light on his face. Is it gold? Is it like some bomb heroin? Is it Marcellus Wallace's soul? I don't know.
We happy? Vincent! We happy?
Yeah, we happy. Look.
The next one would be, can I have my dog Murray back now?
Yes.
Next would be, where's John Lennon, and is there a bar in this place where we can have a few beers? And then the next one, this is why we need an ombudsman or a rabbi ombudsman to come in. And that's, so if God allegedly heals people, why is it always something internal that we can't see? And you know what I'm saying? Like, it's never like a limb grows back. It's never anything visible. It's always something internal.
Right.
Like, oh, God cured this disease or that disease, or God got my blood to run in the right direction when it was running the wrong way, or whatever
Right.
people go to die of or go to the hospital for. But it's never like, a guy stepped on a landmine, prayed, leg grew back, everybody saw it. It's always
Right.
something that you can't see.
Like, because they say God works in mysterious ways. Why does it have to be so mysterious?
Yeah. That's
good question. I like all these. These are pretty good.
You got any? You got any big questions for God, or
Yeah, I would want to know, should I watch Lost? Because I'm very into Severance right now. I mean, I already watched the whole season, but it's oh my God, it's all I want to think about, all I want to talk about, all I want to read about. But like, I'm tired of the Reddit board, and everyone keeps recommending this one podcast. I'm not going to say the name, but I'm not entertained by it. And in my opinion, it's not very good. Hence, I'm not saying the name, but it's not working for me. And people have said it reminds them of the first season of Lost. I haven't seen one episode of Lost, but I only know two people in the whole world, and I'll say their names, Bobby Moynihan of SNL fame and Tony Thaxton of my podcast fame, who like Lost. Everyone else I know who's seen it was angry at it and felt like they wasted their time. So do I want to invest all my time in Lost? I need to know from God whether I should, because I feel like he would know my viewing habits. So I want to know that. I would like to know, why all the suffering? Why? Like, you're God. You seem to be kind of in control here. What's the point of all of it? And then to that point, about the point, I would just want to know, what is the point of all of it? What was the point? Those are my questions. And then I actually do have some specific questions, like about maybe things in my life, like, did I handle that right? Did it have to go down like that? Was there maybe another way that could have resulted in less pain? Things like that. But probably the main one is, should I watch Lost?
I'm going to say, I don't speak for God.
You don't?
I'm not the Pope.
Right.
I'm not Kanye's PR agent. But what I will say, I'm going to say, I don't think you have to take it to a higher power. I think you should not watch Lost.
Did you watch it?
No. But I had a roommate that watched it at that time, and he was beside himself when they wrapped that show up, and about how, like, just bamboozled and cheated he felt.
That's the general thing. Oh, one more thing. So I recently found myself watching a TikTok of a woman who's very into alligators, and she claims that there was an alligator at the South Carolina Aquarium, an albino alligator named Indigo, who had one move. It would hang out at the top of the tank, and then it would go to the bottom, and then it would go back to the top, and that's all it would ever do. And she was like, this alligator, this albino alligator, is fake. and she wrote about it on her Facebook page, and then it kind of blew up. And then shortly after that, the alligator got sick and died mysteriously. And she says she's not one for conspiracy theories, but she believes, like, it didn't make sense that they had one of the only white alligators. There's only 50 or something. Again, this is some woman's TikTok. I can't verify any of this. But like, they had only one of 50 in the whole world and blah, 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 blah. And she gives a compelling reason for this alligator being fake. And I was watching this and I'm like, sure, this sounds good. I think it's fake. And then I stepped back and I was like, wait a minute. This is insane sounding. This is one of those things where while you're watching it, I don't think this is true. So I would like to, if I could just get a 1.5 questions in, I would also want to ask God, is there any truth to this TikTok?
I'd say, so you ask the first question and then you go, real quick, God, and then you drop the alligator thing. And now the thing is, God keeps his word. And so then I think that God, with the alligator thing, I think maybe he won't give you a verbal on it, but he'll give you a nonverbal, like
right.
Like,
I think you're right.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Upworthy Weekly. It's time to rate your week. Have something great happen this week that you just have to share with the world? Tell us about it by emailing us at upworthyweekly@upworthy.com.
I always feel like I'm in Twin Peaks when I hear this song. So, Allison, on a scale of 1 to 5, 1 being fantastic, 5 being completely transplended, rate your week.
I'm giving this one a 3.5. I did my first in-person group show, which was pretty exciting. However, that day I found myself feeling pretty anxious. I was just nervous to have people over again, and not even from a COVID perspective, just a social anxiety perspective, I think. Also, I had mentioned that our babysitter has been out with mono. She's actually back today, which is so wonderful. And she's feeling better, but it's been hard. Wait.
Sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
That was very, very rude of me. But
go for it.
I don't know. Like, you're not buying the white alligator. Like,
you don't think she has mono? Mono?
Mono that only lasts like 2 weeks. It's not mono. Like, mono is somebody who was alive in the 70s and 80s where everybody had the mono. It lasted 9-10 years. It was like having long form COVID. It was like, someone's got mono, they're not coming back to school.
I know.
They're going to finish up when they're 36 and they come back to school to finish their year. We had kids, in the 8th grade that were 49 because they had mono and couldn't leave the house.
I think that, like, she actually, I think she might still have it. She just feels well enough to come to work. And as long as she's not making out with my kids, we're okay. I know. Yes, it does last a long time. It takes a long time to resolve.
Yeah.
So I hope that here's hoping, because I don't know. Like, she feels well enough to be back, and she seems like herself. But I wouldn't be surprised if she tires quickly. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, so I did the show and that was fun. And I went back I had my first in-person therapy appointment since the whole pandemic started, which was, I've been doing it remote, but it was weird. I stepped into she has a new office now, and I stepped into the waiting room and I saw all her like tchotchkes and stuff that was, from her old waiting room in the new place. And I felt weirdly emotional. I didn't expect that. It just reminded me of like how long it's been since I've actually seen all her little books and I don't know, waiting room stuff. And so that was cool. So yeah, it was a fine week with some anxiety.
Are you a better person this week than you were last?
I feel like I've been thinking about it. this expectation that we improve, it's unrealistic.
Well, it's part of your job as being on this show.
It's too.
It's written in the contract. You're going to have to self-evaluate. Because here's the thing. The whole point of this idea was, which I got to say was my brilliant idea, that I thought the people listening, the thousands of people who listen to this show, will hear us repeatedly say this, and then they will think to themselves, hey, if I make small changes, I can get a little bit better. And that was the concept. Get 1% better every day, and then you're 100% better by, in a quarter of a year. So that was the idea. It wasn't to put undue stress on people who have a really hard time making small adjustments to their life and getting better.
Well, now that you put it... wait a minute. I just realized something. I sent out my dumb newsletter that I started that I had fallen behind on. I sent it out this week. So I am 1% better because I'm back in the swing of things. So 1% better.
Good. I got that. It didn't even go to my spam. It went right.
Oh, really?
Right to my inbox.
I didn't even know you subscribe. Welcome. Wonderful. Thank you. And what about you? How was your week?
It's a really busy week because, as you know, there's a lot of stuff in the background going on with this show that took up a lot of time and effort. And I'm always biting off more than I can chew, so I made myself way too busy this week. And I think it really hit me when yesterday I had a cocktail and I fell asleep at 8:45 while watching Better Call Saul. And I didn't wake up till like 11 o'clock at night. My wife goes, Todd! From the other room. From the other room. To come ask to put her to bed, because that's what we do every night. We tuck each other in.
Oh, my God.
Goodnight.
That is so cute. How is file this under the tortoise revelation and the other revelations that I'm forgetting right now. How is this only coming up now?
There's
What
so
do you
much.
guys... How do you do... Back up and explain this, please. Because my husband and I don't do anything like this. We just put ourselves to bed. Like a couple of weirdos.
No, my wife demands it. So, I come in the room and I make sure she's tucked in, and I say, I love you, and I give her a kiss, and make sure she's cozy, and then she says, when are you coming to bed? And I go, I don't know, maybe I'm going to finish something up and, whatever, who knows? I'm going to sneak out the window and go to the bar for a bit, who knows? And then I tell her, and then what happens is she doesn't realize she's been asleep, and like an hour and a half later, I'll come to bed, and then she'll go, oh, are you coming to bed? Like she thought I just tucked her in and then lied about staying up later, and then she mumbles to herself for a bit, and then she finally falls asleep. So, yeah.
That's so sweet. So you said that you tuck each other in, but it's more like you tuck her in.
Yeah, I always stay up later. So we did that, and so then she woke me. I was so tired from the week that I heard my name being called at like 11, and then I woke up and I was like, oh, and you look, and it's just the Roku screensaver, and it's no longer Bob Odenkirk on the TV. and Rhea Seehorn, she used to come on your show.
Ray Seahorn, yeah. She pronounced it Ray, even though it's spelled like Rhea. Yeah, she's been on a couple times. I love her. She is great.
I've been meaning to ask you about that. But so I was very tired. So, but I had so I give the week like a 3. I had one nice night where we had Daddy Declan Day where I took my kid out. And he always asks, can we have a Daddy Declan Day?
Aw.
Because he knows that means pocket full of quarters Dad has. Go someplace where there's pizza and beer in the Dodger game, and then I just keep giving him quarters, and he runs around getting tickets or some crap, and I relax and eat something unhealthy. So that was fun. So that's why my week was 3.
That sounds pretty good. And are you a better person?
Well, no, because I considered committing a crime to feed my addiction.
I'm going to need to hear more about this.
A lot of revelations on today's show.
I know.
So, as we all know, there's this problem with the supply chain, right?
Yes.
People can't get things. Things are sold out. Prices are going up, So what happens is every day in my coffee, I need a lot of coffee to get going because I write like 1,200 plus words a day for Upworthy. It takes a lot of brain power, a lot of focus, and so I get really just gacked on caffeine. And then also like doing this show. You got to be chatty, you got to, So I drink a lot of caffeine. So I'd make my coffee, and I had these things called Stokes.
Right. No, I know. You drink your revolting Pike Place, and then you put a shot of espresso in it.
Yeah. So what happens is that because of the supply chain, you can't find the Stokes anymore.
Oh, no.
So I started like not being able to function because I just really got my body used to operating on an intense amount of caffeine. And so then I went on Amazon, all sold out.
Oh, God.
I emailed the company, the Stoke company. Joseph R. Stoke. I sent him an email. And
did they
nothing.
reply to you?
Yes, they did.
What did they say?
I think it was production. There's production problems because of the pandemic.
I feel you so much on this one. I've had things like this. And I understand the desperation. Like, I'm sure you would drive 5 hours to get it at this point.
Oh, yeah.
To the factory, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I can't function. And so what happened was I realized that they have them at 7-Eleven. You have your creamers. And
right.
They keep. So the other day I said, about 8 in the morning before I'm starting work, I go, I'm going to go over to 7-Eleven. And I'm just going to pocket a couple.
Yeah. What's the harm? It's a victimless crime.
Yeah, I'm going to violate the honor system at 7-Eleven that says don't take too much chili.
Right.
Don't take too much cheese for that hot dog. Save some for everybody else. There's creamers out, but don't take a handful. Use one. Okay?
Right.
I said, you know what? I'll buy a coffee. I'll buy something. So I'm not outright thieving. But, when the guy at the register isn't paying attention, I'm going to abscond some. Steal them.
Perfect crime.
Yeah. And then hope they don't pop in my pocket. So I go over to 7-Eleven and I start doing paces around the coffee thing, which, by the way, 7-Eleven coffee is surprisingly good.
Mm-hmm. This is what I hear.
Yeah.
I'm too good for 7-Eleven, but this is what I hear.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And Pike. So I'm walking around the coffee thing and I do about 4 laps and I realize they don't have it there.
Oh, no. It took you 4 laps to figure that out?
I was upset. So then I walk over to the guy working there. I go, hey.
Well, I'm sorry. What were you doing on the laps? Try to look cool, but looking really suspicious while you were doing the laps because you couldn't just go over and look?
Yeah, it was like hands in the pockets, kind of looking over my shoulder at the coffee.
Casing the joint.
Yeah, I made some small talk with the gal getting some coffee, and we both remarked about how tired we were.
Oh, boy.
Hence the needing of the coffee. So
I have an idea for what you should do, but I want to hear your sad story first.
So eventually I go over to the guy that works at the 7-Eleven. And I go, hey, buddy, you know what to do with like the little... I try to act like I don't know that much about it. Like...
I know exactly what you mean.
I go, hey, buddy, you got the black things that you put with the thing that's got... takes the coffee up a little bit. Goes,
I happen to have the barcode saved on my phone. If that would help you.
And the guy goes, oh, the Stokes. I go, yeah. And so he's got a box of them right behind. Like, I guess other people had been taking them, or maybe...
Oh, wow.
People were violating the 7-Eleven honor system and just taking handfuls. So I got real desperate, and I was like, I will buy that whole box.
That was my idea. I was going to say you should just offer to buy it off of him.
Yeah. Name your price, And the guy goes, no, he goes, how many do you need? And it was like...
Are you driving Lyft again to support the box?
Guy goes, how many do you need? And he was going to give them away free, so I couldn't be like, give me 15, or else I'm just being so wrong,
Yeah, but you need them.
I need them. But, I only need like 3 every 5 days. And so the guy, I said, give me 5. And then I was hoping that maybe the next time I come in, I'll come in a different time of night, and there'll be another guy working there, and I'll go and I'll play the same charade.
Right.
So the guy gave me like a pocket full of them, and then I bought like a beer, just to,
At 8 in the morning?
Yeah, I didn't drink it at 8 in the morning.
I know, but still. Wait a minute.
I got it. So this makes me a bad person is what I'm saying. This is not...
I don't think... But, because you considered pilfering some.
Mm-hmm.
But you didn't actually do it.
No.
I wish that he had just let you buy the whole box. Would he have let you buy the whole box? Because you would have get how high were you going to go?
For the whole box, there looked to be about 80 in there.
Uh-huh.
So, I mean, normally when I buy them like that, I'd pay like $20. So I go higher, 35. You know.
I feel like for something like that, in these times, you got to go like 100.
Got to go higher, and then.
Yeah.
Maybe I should.
You could sell them yourself if you need to.
Maybe I could just work it off. Like maybe I could just start like pulling shifts. You know, like when a guy has to go to the bathroom, I'll drive up there, and then get the Stokes.
Yeah, you can be the relief worker. Now, are they just espresso?
That's what it's called, but it's not that strong of a flavor. It blends in seamlessly with a pike.
Got it. I understand. Wow, Todd. Well, I'm glad you got them. So you only need 3 every 5 days, so it's not daily for you.
I'm rationing. I'd like to thank everybody for listening to Upworthy Weekly. I'd like to thank Allison Rosen for stopping by and being a great chat.
Thank you.
Upworthy Weekly was produced by Todd Perry. Follow Upworthy on all socials at Upworthy. Allison is on Twitter at Allison Rosen. And Todd at Todd A. Perry. That's Todd with 1 D. Questions, comments, or to tell us about your amazing week, email us at upworthyweekly@upworthy.com. I'm Marley Balin. Have a great week.